Wire to Wire Sports. I'm Jason O'Neill, as always, with my man Aubrey Gregg.
How you doing?
We're back to discuss some of the best hoop topics around. Even in the middle of the summer, basketball is in full swing with the Dwight Howard trade, the Olympics just recently concluded, and of course the AAU summer wrap-up. Let's go straight in. So, starting out with the AAU, the high school kids, the up-and-coming ballers, we're going to start with the Pangos Camp in Long Beach, California. And this year's Pangos Camp was especially special to Wire to Wire Sports as we had Jeremy Rosati, Wire to Wire's own, in attendance. Aubrey, who were some of the standouts from the Pangos Camp and what kind of insight was Jeremy able to provide us?
One of the featured players at Pangos All-American Camp was Ben Simmons, a 2015 6'8" small forward from Australia. His consistency from the mid-range, also his adept understanding of the game, being that his dad played professionally in Australia, gives him a little bit of a leg up, let's say, in the class of 2015 on the national scene. My number 2 player at the Pangos All-American Camp, Wayne Selden from BABC in Boston. An interesting story is Wayne Selden will be reclassifying to the class of 2013 this season, so he's being courted by the likes of Kentucky, Connecticut, Kansas, and he's definitely one of the top small forwards in the nation. My number 3 selection, but definitely not last, is Stanley Johnson of Mater Dei and the Oakland Soldiers. Stanley's consistent play throughout the summer has separated him from his peers. He's a 6'5" to 6'6" two-guard small forward, and he looks to project that same way in the pro game. Very good kid, first of all, but a great basketball player moreover, and look for him possibly at Arizona because they're picking up steam with Mr. Johnson.
Next up was the Nike Peach Jam, one of the premier AAU tournaments of the summer. Oakland Soldiers entered the tournament as one of the favorites. Aubrey, who did they end up challenging in the finals?
The Peach Jam final came down to Oakland Soldiers and CIA Bounce of Canada. Last year I predicted CIA Bounce would be the top team of this year's AAU season, and they most of the time were, except for this game. Aaron Gordon was back, the big three, Jabari Bird from Salesian, and our good friend, Mr. Stanley Johnson of Mater Dei, proved to be a little too much for CIA Bounce and Andrew Wiggins, so we got to give the national championship to the Oakland Soldiers for this summer, 2012.
As the summer wore on, the international game took center stage. First with the Under-17 USA basketball team, featuring Stephen Domingo, who actually ended up reclassifying and will be attending Georgetown this coming fall, excuse me. Aubrey, who were some of the standout players for that Under-17 team, in addition to Domingo?
Well, it seemed like Texas had a big part in the USA team, being that the Harrison twins were very much thorough competitors. Also, we can't forget Julius Randle, the 6'9" big man from Prestonwood in Texas, was very official on the boards, taking over inside and made his presence known. You know, we also had Jabari Parker on that team, but he's been a little banged up, as well as Aaron Gordon. They did contribute, but not as much as the previous summer before. But one player that did, Mr. Stanley Johnson. He was Mr. Consistent over in Lithuania for the Under-17 team.
Rounding out the summer, finishing off that international focus, was of course the 2012 Olympics, which were won of course by the USA. And with some trepidation actually this time. Me and Aubrey had argued back in 2011 with the World Championship if they really had a legitimate chance to win that, especially with the lack of depth at the up front, center and forward positions. But this Olympic team, this USA team, was able to get the job done. We were able to see a lot of international players. Lithuania really, I thought, played well and showed themselves well. Our buddy Sergio Giulia played great for Spain and really was one of those guys who nobody had ever heard of, who was really just kind of leaping off the TV screen. But one thing that the Olympics did lack was probably the depth of talent. For instance, teams like Turkey and Serbia didn't even end up participating in the Olympics. However, teams like Tunisia and Nigeria ended up getting in, and not providing, you know, the stiffest competition, which created more of a lackluster tournament. And one of the hot button issues over those 14 days of the Olympics was possibly making the Olympics under 23. And like soccer, so only people who were under 23 would be able to participate. And I would almost feel like, hey, with the depth of talent, this isn't even the most premier international tournament, so what does it even matter? If the Olympics want to step up, I really feel, and Aubrey I think agrees with me on this point, that you might have to expand the tournament. Otherwise, there probably is no point in keeping it the way it is. We're not seeing the best international basketball players in the world. Serbia has some of the best players in the world. Turkey was in that World Championship final last year, or in 2011. Aubrey, how do you feel expansion might actually help the Olympic tournament if they were going to stay with adults in the league?
I was very excited about the the Olympic tournament this summer, but one thing that hurt me was the number of teams. A 12-team tournament does not make sense at this point. You need 16 to, I would say, about 24 teams, the best 24 teams in the world to play amongst themselves, and then let those teams go ahead and play the Russias, the Spains, and the Americas in those next rounds. The bottom line is a team like Tunisia and Nigeria are merely club basketball teams. Those people have jobs during the day and then play basketball at night. They're not professionals all the time is what I'm saying. And that basically took away from the tournament and what it could have been. It still was a very, very entertaining tournament. I love the tournament that Alexei Shved had at the point for Russia. Dave Blatt, former coach at Princeton, did a wonderful job for Russia. But outside of that, I was very distraught by the number of participating teams that were top level.
So last, we always cover the NBA, and the Olympics really was chock full of NBA players. Lithuania had a few. Even that Nigeria team that we've been railing against had two NBA players. Ike Diagu, of course, played well. But the NBA Finals was a few months ago. Just a quick recap. I was actually not shocked at all to see LeBron end up winning his first chip. I was kind of getting the feeling that it was his time, it was his due. There really wasn't, I think, a lot of, competition, especially in the Eastern Conference. I mean, he was still going through those same old Celtics that he had been going through since 2008. So we're really talking about he's had 4 years and two different teams to kind of go up against these guys. So I wasn't really surprised at all by the outcome of the NBA Finals. I pretty much predicted LeBron was going to win that regardless. I was surprised, however, the lack of help he really had from like a D-Wade, and then ended up getting the help from a Mike Miller and a Shane Battier, things of that nature. However, that leads us to our next topic, and what kind of rounded out the summer was, of course, the Laker trade and the Heat's free agent acquisitions, which seemed to me that the NBA is really setting us up for a Kobe versus LeBron finals that they've been railing for the last few years. They've been really, ever since those stupid puppet commercials, have been really trying to get this matchup in the NBA finals. And it seems at this point they're really just going to force feed it to the American public. With the Lakers getting Dwight Howard, I was actually very, not shocked by the trade, but shocked by the components in it, with Iguodala leaving, with Afalo leaving. I thought that was a big kind of bombshell to be let off. And this time, of course, the NBA did end up blocking the trade for basketball reasons. But even with all that said, I'm not sold that we're going to end up seeing the Lakers and the Heat in the NBA Finals. I think OKC, they're on the come. The fact that they didn't add anybody doesn't mean they're not going to be a better team. They have players that are getting better every year. So as a result, they are going to be a better team. And it makes me think of when the NBA was trying to get Drexler and Jordan face off in the finals, and what ended up happening the first year that Jordan ended up getting to the finals. Well, Magic, I don't know if anybody remembers this, ended up beating Drexler with a vastly undermanned team. He had Vlade on the team, Worthy was on his last legs, and it just kind of, erased. Perkins ended up hitting a couple big shots that year. But it really kind of erased what the NBA was trying to do with get those two, Drexler and Jordan, against each other. And I almost feel the same thing's going to end up happening with it. Magic wasn't a lackluster superstar. Magic was a superstar in his own right. The same way I think Durant is a superstar in his own right. So I'm not sold, as much as a Laker fan I am, I'm not sold that we're going to end up seeing Hayden Lakers in the finals. So staying with that topic, Aubrey, I have a question for you. The Lakers acquired Steve Nash and Dwight Howard. And the Miami Heat got Ray Allen and Rashard Lewis. Really, Rashard Lewis for a cup of coffee and a donut. What do you think was the bigger addition to the team?
The way I feel about the trades between the respective franchises of the Miami Heat and Lakers go like this. The Miami Heat really did nothing, to me personally, than to add to their franchise. Rashard Lewis, he's a so-so shooter at this point in his career to me. I believe that the Lakers will be able to contend for a championship this next season, with the likes of Gasol and Howard in that front line that makes them pretty much unguardable. Then you also have Steve Nash. I know he's an ailing vet, but he still has legs under him, still. And I believe Kobe Bryant is destined for another 1 to 2 championships, maybe 3 if we extend him out. But still, I think there's some traction on those legs that he's maybe being a little deceiving a few people about. So I look for the Lakers to be the ones that got the better end of the stick in the trades between the two respective franchises that are marketed to be in the NBA Finals this season.
That's our list of topics for today. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you check out the YouTube page, Wire to Wire Sports, and also Hoops Factory TV on Twitter. I'm Jason O'Neill from my man Aubrey Gray. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.